It's a 3-inch shell. It's not a slug. It's 8 shot. That looked painful.